Hello, coolers. Welcome back to Viva Barca and welcome to another interesting episode where we are going to discuss on some interesting updates. We begin with Joao Felix as Xavi is still not convinced about signing Joao Felix for Barca, you know, and Xavi has given some reasons why he thinks so. We are going to discuss on that as we move ahead. Secondly, talking about new signing Inigo Martinez, who has been out due to injury, as it has now been reported that the Barca star 10 days away from receiving medical discharge so he could return against Villarreal. We are also going to be discussing on that. So guys, as we get right into the full stories, please do ensure to subscribe if you haven't. If you're just coming across the channel for the very first time, you are highly welcome. Consider liking the video and please watch it right up to the very end. According to journalist Paul Balos, it has been reported via The Athletic that Joao Felix is not a player that Xavi really likes and wants in his team, with the reason being that Joao Felix's lack of defensive credibility. Following his loan tenure with the Premier League side Chelsea last season, Joao Felix made himself known that he doesn't wish to play for Atletico Madrid again. The 23-year-old even went public to express his admiration for Barcelona, and ever since his representative Jorge Mendes has been trying to cater a move to Catalonia. The 23-year-old forward, whose market value stands at 50 million euros, was heavily booed by the fans of Atletico in their recent game against Granada on Monday, despite not even playing a single minute in that game, which goes on to show that his relationship with the club is beyond repair. Now, it is known that Xavi demands a great amount of work rate from his players across all areas of the pitch. Take, for instance, the case in point of Alejandro Bade. You know, the left back is heavily involved in the offense, meaning that those playing on the same lines as Bade need to be on their toes if the defense is vacated. This is where Joao Felix fails to pass the demands. Paul Barros writes that although Joao Felix has already offered himself to Barcelona, the coaching staff is still not entirely aligned with his style of play. Even keeping aside the financial aspect of it, which is going to play a very big role in Barca opting to sign the Portuguese, the forward is not really winning over Xavi and his staff, and so his lack of defensive effort happens to be a primary factor. At the same time, there happens to be a major conflict of interest within the Barca management, with new sporting director Deco being Felix's great admirer and has been pushing for him to come to Barca. As such, club president Joan Laporta is also a big fan of Joao Felix, but Xavi is not entirely sold on the idea, although it could be a case that he might have to give up as Ousmane Dembele has already left and the future of Ansu Fati continues to hang in the balance. So it must be noted that Joao Felix has already rejected a few offers, especially from Saudi Arabia, and while he dreams of moving to Barca, the decision now rests with Xavi. Of course, Xavi Hernandez, as we all know, has never been the idea of bringing Joao Felix, which for what I don't understand, but of course, there are some reports saying that Xavi is okay for Joao Felix joining the club, but only if Barca are done signing his two top targets remaining, which is a right back and an attacking midfielder. Of course, talking about the reason why he doesn't really want Joao Felix to join his team, as this report claims that the player does not have that defensive nose. Coming back, he doesn't know how to track back to help the defense, and Xavi wants that work rate to be really high among all his players. Honestly, I don't think there should be any sufficient reason for Xavi to say he doesn't want him. As a manager, you should be able to know how to manage players. That is why you are a manager. You bring your style of play. That's why you see under some managers there are players who are now good, who with time they start developing other things, like they could track back more or they do something, all based on the demands of the manager. So why does Xavi think that if Felix come, he won't be able to help the defense at the back? That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make no sense. I don't think there should be any sufficient reasons for us to say, or for him to say he doesn't want to bring Joao Felix to his team. That's no reason. Because he's the one to tell Joao Felix that, okay, yeah, this is how my tactics work. This is how I play my game. You have to do this. You have to do that. And the player will have to do it. He will do it. Right? He wants to be a Barca player. He would do it. He is the manager of Barca, so he has the voice to command anything he wants. The style of play is all based on him. He's the one, the player, like, as per what he said, that's how they play the game. So I don't think if they are saying Joao Felix does not have that, he does not know how to help the defense like how some other players do. It's all because Xavi does not know how to do it. Like, seriously, Joao Felix is a player that, for me, is so good to play for Barca, not Atletico, because Atletico signed him from Benfica, which came as a shock to many because we know that the Atletico style of play is more defensive minded under Diego Simeone. And I think that's why the player have been feeling so frustrated there. He have never settled at Atletico because Diego Simeone, his own style of play, it has never been the way. Because normally, when you look at Joao Felix, he's that kind of a player who can thrive with teams that are playing some good attacking football. And I don't see why Xavi believes that he doesn't fit his plans. Then on to the next story of discussion. Earlier today, Inigo Martinez was spotted in group training with the rest of the Barca squad. For the first time this season, the defender arrived at Barca this summer, but with a foot injury that had kept him away from group training sessions as he worked individually to recover completely. And today was the first instance of the new signing training with the rest of the team, so that was a very positive boost. However, despite Martinez resuming group training today, Javi Miguel of AS is reporting that the 32-year-old is still 10 days away from receiving the medical green light. As such, the left-footed centre-back will not be ready to feature against Cadiz in Barca's first home game of the season later this week. Instead, the report states that the Spanish international could be fully prepared in time for the match against Villarreal by next week in match day 3 of La Liga. With Ronald Araujo injured and, of course, set to be sidelined for at least a month, Xavi would have liked for Martinez to be available at the earliest possible. So guys, with that, we have come to an end of this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, bye bye.